Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Mignolo, CEO of the experience agency The Flash. Each week, I bring on a different leader from business who's doing some game-changing things. And this week's episode is no different. I'm super psyched to have Nakita Pope, who's the chief chick of Branding Chicks, a brand strategy agency out in Atlanta. We're going to have a great conversation about how she got there, what she does, and learn the story of this interesting company name. It's going to be a great conversation. Take a listen. Hey, Nakita.
Hey,
So glad to have you on the show.
thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Um, you're part of my 29 Days of Magic experiment where I'm just finding amazing Black women across the country to have a conversation with. And I'm
hmm
super excited to have you on the show.
I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to listen to all the other 28 that you have coming out.
It's going to be a good bunch of people. So I'm sure you've listened to the show, so you know
hmm
my first question is going to be,
Yep.
Nakita, what
Yes.
was your first job?
My first job, believe it or not, was in junior high school. I used to paint cartoon characters on my jeans, like that was in style back then. And I used to wear them to school, and my friends started paying me to do theirs. So
Wow.
I truly did not realize until a few years ago that I've been an entrepreneur for a long time.
Wow. And what did you and how did you what kind of cartoon characters? Is it like Animaniacs or like Disney characters?
Yeah, it would be like Tweety Bird or Sylvester or Mickey Mouse, or I would paint graffiti, their names on there, or whatever they wanted. And I just did mine because I thought it was cute, and it was a form of self-expression for me. And I started wearing them to school, and people were like, "Well, will you do mine?" And they paid me for it.
And you're like, and this is a business.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how old were you?
I was probably in ninth grade. So what was that, 14?
Wow. So at
Yeah,
night,
14.
so at 14, you're making some cash.
Yeah.
See, it all comes together. So this is crazy. I actually interviewed another woman
hmm
who did something similar when she was in high school, where she was
Ah,
painting the I guess the album covers
oh,
in
wow.
the early 80s. And I was like, wait, what? And so I said, so I missed out on this trend twice apparently. Probably because I went to Catholic school and we couldn't modify our uniforms.
Yes.
Probably I'm thinking
I have that life too.
so like
Yeah,
uniforms
I
are
get
your
it.
life. Um, so Nikita, tell me, what is it you do right now?
So right now, I run Branding Chicks, which we talked about just a minute ago. So I specialize in brand strategy and brand development for women-owned businesses and femme-focused brands, which allows me to work with women or products or services targeted at women all over the country, which is really, really fun. There's so many women doing amazing things right now, and as I'm sure you know, we're the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs as well. So I get to work with people who are following their dreams, and I get to help them make it come true. So that's really exciting for me. I'm also a professor. I teach advertising and design at the Creative Circus here in Atlanta. I've been doing that for about 11 years now, and it all feeds my work. Like everything that I tend to do, which I think you and I have talked about, everything that I'm involved in kind of feeds my work and feeds my life. So it's a big cycle, which is kind of fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how do you go from selling Tweety Bird on your jacket to owning branding chicks? Outside of the chick reference is kind of similar with people.
It is kind of actually. Well, I in high school I always loved to draw and paint. And so I took as many art classes as I could, AP art classes, the whole deal. And when I was senior in high school, I believe, my teacher, really encouraged me to pursue a creative career. And so I started to look around, and look at colleges and see what programs there were and those kinds of things. And at the time, graphic design wasn't really a big part of the conversation, at least not in my circles. Most people that I knew did not know what it was or had never heard of it. And it took me a while to find it. I was about 2 seconds from becoming an architecture major because I was like, well, that'll give me an opportunity to be creative. It'll give me an opportunity to do something that is lucrative, and I'll still get to kind of feed that, that need for myself. Although I really hated math, so I probably wouldn't have been good at it. But I discovered design right before I decided to major in architecture. And
Wow.
I decided to go to Hampton University in Virginia. I majored in design there, and then I ended up at the Portfolio Center, which is now Miami Ad School at Portfolio Center here in Atlanta for graduate school. And, since then, I've done a little bit of everything. I've worked in nonprofits, I've worked in advertising agencies and design firms. I've been a creative director, I've done art direction work and strategy. And I just kind of fell in love with branding. It allowed me to sort of combine all of those things. Like it allowed me to combine the visual identity and what something looks like, and also what it sounds like, what the voice of it is, and how you promote it and how you market it. And so it's really kind of all encompassing. And I really enjoy that sort of strategic deep dive. And along the way, as I got a chance to do more and more of that, I realized that I wanted that to be my niche. So I always had a freelance business on the side, mostly doing design and custom fine art for people, actually. And
Wow.
then when I decided to leave my last job as a creative director, I knew that I wanted to go out on my own, but that now I had a new skill set. I had a new experience, and I had gotten a chance to dive in a lot deeper with branding. And so I decided to switch the focus of my business and really give it a go as a full-time thing and not just on the side. So that's where we were. That was 8 years ago, and we're still chugging along.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
it's awesome. I mean, I don't think I've had that many Black female creatives on the show. And so I'm super excited to have you on. It would be great to sort of, talk about your experience. But I think it's often interesting that, a lot of people don't realize how graphic design is a great career,
Hmm.
and a quite lucrative one. And I think it'd be great to sort of share a little bit of your experience around how you were able to build that career.
Yeah. So, what I tell my students is that, you can, there's so many people who are creative and they don't know how to channel that into anything, right? But now there are so many options to do that. And design allows me to kind of feed two things that I really love, which is being creative and solving problems.
Hmm.
So, when I was doing fine art, when I was younger, and even now when I do fine art, that's really just a form of self-expression for me. Like it's creativity for creativity's sake. But when I step into a design role or an art direction role, or I'm building a visual brand on the design side, I'm solving a problem by the visuals that I create. And so there's an objective I'm trying to achieve. There's specific people that I'm trying to attract or engage with the things that I create. And so it provides a completely different level of strategy, so that, it's not just that it looks pretty, but it has to actually solve the problem and meet the objective as well. So that has, because I've gotten to do it in so many different realms, and been blessed to work with lots of different clients in different sizes in different industries, you kind of keep collecting all of that fodder. And you know every time I step into a new project, I'm excited because I get to learn something new. Like, I may not have worked in that industry before, or I may not have worked in that segment of a category. And so I have to learn as much about it as the person who's talking to me or the person who runs that business, in order to be able to solve their problems well. So it's a lot of different moving parts, and I think that sometimes that's the part that gets overlooked when people are considering it as a career is, you know well, I just get to make stuff look pretty all day. But the best designers are really, really, really good strategic thinkers.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I oftentimes think that sometimes folks think that, there's some mythical way you can be a creative
Mm-hmm.
in the industry. And I love that you explain it in a kind of story of it being, you're a master problem solver, because so
Mm-hmm.
many of us sort of have that innate skill. Is just how do you activate it in really unique and evocative ways.
Oh,
So,
exactly.
and what would you say has been like probably one of the biggest challenges you faced as being a Black female creative over
Mm-hmm.
the years, and how we were able to overcome it?
I think probably my biggest challenge has been imposter syndrome. To be
Really?
honest, yes.
We could go to war about this.
Listen, it's a thing. It's a
No, it's
thing.
not.
And I have I've fought it tooth and nail. And I still have my days here and there.
Hmm.
But in the beginning of my career, that was something that was really hard for me. It wasn't that I didn't think that I was good. It wasn't that I didn't think I could do it. It was when it was time to move into a new realm. Like once I was, you know, really proficient at something or doing well in a position, I'm like, okay, this is good. But then when it's time to level up, you get that really uncomfortable feeling. And I've learned over the years to embrace that. Like if I'm thinking about taking on a big client, or somebody comes to me with a new opportunity, or I'm thinking about doing something really different with my business, like if I don't feel like I'm gonna like bomb it just a little bit, then, then it might not be the right move. But there was a time that used to stop me, or at least provide a significant challenge for me to get past it and move on. And I think that so many creatives that I know deal with that, regardless of whether they're really good at what they do or not. I think it's just part of human nature. I also think that creatives tend to put a lot of themselves into their work.
Hmm.
So when you think about the things that they're producing, it's not coming from just the head, it's also coming from the heart. So when you put your emotions into something, there's no way that you can separate your emotions all the time. So sometimes they creep in, and that's what it looks like when it does.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I've always had this. I guess I've always been the outlier around imposter syndrome, and
Mm-hmm.
I completely have empathy and understand that how it is for some folks that may have it. I
Mm-hmm.
guess for me, I've never had it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
You're
I've
lucky.
all it's only because, and I think it kind of comes down for me that it was always sort of like, um, you know, of course I should be here. You shouldn't be here. like, uh, well, yeah, and I think it's probably a sort of quiet confidence
Mm-hmm.
that I think I make this joke about having Jamaican parents, and
Mm-hmm.
so like when you have Caribbean parents, like it's very much, well, of course you're supposed to be here, like you're the
Yeah.
best, and
Mm-hmm.
like it's sort of drilled in your head as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes in really handy in the real world, because like I don't think I've ever had the thing where, oh well, I think they're so much better than me and I
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be in this room. And I'm like, well, of course I should be in this room. I should have been in this room a long time ago. It just took me forever to get here.
Right, right.
Um, and so that's kind of served me well,
Mm-hmm.
because I think this as an entrepreneur, like risk is your middle name.
Yeah.
So
There's
I've
no way around it.
so I'm never kind of worried about like, oh well, this could go horribly wrong. I'm like, yeah, well, if it goes wrong, it goes wrong.
And it's
But,
funny you say that, because I feel like um I think that it's something that well, at least for me, I grew into that place, right? So, things were really scary sometimes until I did them. And so, the very first time you take a huge leap and you know that there's no net to catch you, and you didn't die, whether it failed or whether it worked, like I'm still here. I
Mm-hmm.
can still keep going, then like that confidence builds and builds and builds. So now, even though I still have my moments here and there, there's lots of, like you said, I have to take risk every day. And I don't hesitate most of the time to do it. It's just kind of like, let me, think this through and look at it from a strategic place. Like, is this going to help me meet my goals? If so, then let's go for it, kind of thing. But yeah, I think that a lot of people have to grow into it. At least that was my experience.
Yeah, well, I think it's also like the world that you sort of end up in. So I was always in these rooms where it's like, well, it's like the Michelle Obama quote
Hmm.
where she talks about, like, I've been in some of the rooms with some of the smartest people in the world who are perceived to be the smartest people in the world, and she's like, trust me, they're not that
Yes,
smart.
definitely. And I think we've all had that lesson. I know I have.
And so once you have that, I don't think it doesn't. That's not to say that, like, things aren't intimidating and things always don't go our way, but it is very much that there is this mystique around sometimes these folks, especially in our industry,
Hmm.
where, like, oh my gosh, it's this person, and then
Right,
you get in the room and you're like, excuse me, really? Like,
right,
okay.
right. Absolutely. And sometimes the difference between getting where they are or not is the confidence. It really is.
So how were you able to find that confidence? Was there a moment in your career where you're like, you know what? I'm done. I'm Miss Pope for real. I
I think
got this.
I don't know if it was one moment for me. I think it was cumulative.
Hmm.
Even now, sometimes I look at, I was just telling I teach a personal branding class, and I was telling my students that, they need to make a point of regularly Googling themselves. Like, you need to know what comes up when
Hmm.
someone goes to look for your name. And so trying to practice what I preach, I Googled myself the other day, and I was like,
Damn.
this stuff.
Damn.
But it definitely has just kind of built and built and built. It was one of those things where I plant so many seeds, and I just kind of, I follow my heart, or I have a strategy. I know where I want to be, and I just do things that I feel like will eventually get me there. And by the time I look back, I'm like, man, I've done a lot. And that gives me more and more confidence. But I think, that it's really just eating that elephant one bite at a time, for me. And so it wasn't one turning point. It was sort of a cumulative effect. And I think that, now, I mean, I've been in the industry for 25 years at this point. So, if I still struggle with imposter syndrome every day, then, what have I been doing? So I definitely don't have that problem, but it still creeps in every now and then. And so when it does, that's what I do. I take a minute to stop and look at what I've done, regardless of what I'm trying to do now, or where I'm trying to go, or whatever obstacles I feel like I may encounter trying to get there. I look at what I've been able to accomplish, and that gives me the confidence to go on to the next thing.
Yeah, you build. I think those foundational building blocks are really important.
Hmm.
And were you able to sort of build a really awesome support network? Because I found for me that oftentimes it's having this, different circles of friends who are like, your cheerleaders, who are able to sort of be like, you got this.
Absolutely.
Is really key. And I think, as Black women in business, sometimes it can be very isolating.
Hmm.
Oftentimes we're the only one in
Yes.
the room, and then when
Very
the
often.
person, you're like, wait, hi, new friend, hi. So how's that? And what's that like in Atlanta for you? Like, do you have like the squad?
Yeah, I do. I definitely do. And I have I'm so lucky that I've been able to connect with some amazing people, women, colleagues, creatives, like people in other industries as well. And so those relationships are invaluable because, whether it is, my friend that I'm calling to say I'm having a really bad day, or the one that is also an entrepreneur and they totally get it. I don't have to explain anything to them. I can just say, I'm about to go work at Popeyes, and they get it.
Oh, I've had that conversation.
Like that is the peak of I'm fed up day. Like I have people that can pick up the phone and say that too, and they absolutely get it. But that group also, supports me in so many ways, because they end up being creative partners. They end up being collaborators. They end up being clients. They end up being resources. So like, I try to surround myself with people who know things that I don't know. And we help each other, and I think that, whether you have a bunch of those people or you even have one person like that, it makes a huge difference. But I've tried my best to collect people. I tell people all the time when I talk about networking that I collect my people. I collect people that I want to play with, that I genuinely like, and based on that, we have such a good relationship that all those other things just get born out of those relationships. I'm not just, connecting with someone just because of what they can do for me or who they are or any of that. Like I try to genuinely connect with people that I like, or that, I enjoy their company, or I admire them or what they're doing, or I'm genuinely interested in the things that they're doing in the world. And those tend to be really, really fruitful relationships.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so key.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if I would have survived this long in the industry as an entrepreneur if I didn't have. And I also find that my groups are different.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Um,
Very diverse.
very, very diverse,
Yes.
very different. Like I have like my entrepreneur squad.
Yep.
Is, a number of white dudes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
None of whom I date, which is unfortunate. Because some of them are cute. Oh well. Oops. Oh well, whatevs. But like I've got like my my startup dudes who I
Mm-hmm.
talk to. I've got my startup ladies who I talk to.
Mm-hmm.
I've got like my girlfriends I've had since high school and
Yes.
college, and
Yes.
because also they know a very different Laura.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they can give a different perspective, and I think sometimes we discount that because you're like, oh well, I'm like now a super entrepreneur and I only want to hang with my
Mm-hmm.
friends. And I think it's really important to also remember like where you came from and the
Oh
people
yeah.
like around you, because they knew you when you were just hanging at Webster Hall,
Uh-huh.
trying to get some free drinks when you were under 21. So,
Exactly. Exactly. And that balance helps so much, because, if you're anything like me, in a lot of ways, play is work and work is play.
yeah.
So I'm often, playing with the people I work with or working with the people I play with. And so sometimes it does help to have somebody who isn't in the industry, who doesn't really care about it. All they care about is you, right? Because like you said, they are going to give you a different perspective, and they can talk to you. They can talk to the core of who you are and not just your professional persona. They know you. They don't know the you that everybody else knows. They know you.
Which is so very important, and it's also about knowing who you are
Yes.
yourself, and accepting who that person is and forgiving who that person is, because we're all flawed and we're going to make tons of
Absolutely.
mistakes. So speaking about that,
Mm-hmm.
what do you do for your self-care? Like what is the thing, I especially with this series, focusing on the 29 Black women, as I want listeners to understand that like none of us are superwomen. Like no matter what you read in papers or
Mm-hmm.
online, like we literally need to chill out, calm the hell down, take some
Yeah,
time for ourselves. Otherwise, we will not survive.
absolutely.
So, what is it you do? Do you yoga? Is it a glass of wine and Real Housewives? Is it a Popeyes chicken sandwich on a Friday?
I do a couple of things. The thing that I probably do most consistently is connect with the people I love. Um, so many of my friends are spread out all over the country. So many of them are people that I've known for years and years, and we are close enough that I don't necessarily have to talk to them every day. But, you know, it feeds me to be able to make time to call them or do a video chat with them or go see them or whatever those things are. That feeds me in such a big way because it allows me to step away from everything else and just, like you said, remind myself of who I am, and just reconnect with people that I genuinely care about. That's the thing that I probably do the most consistently. But, you know, I also have taken up a meditation practice, just trying to get in some of that every day, even if it's just like 10 minutes. Like, that's my goal, is to just do it every day, even if it's 10 minutes. And I think also trash TV sometimes is a thing. If I just need to escape completely, I'll watch something on TV or a movie or something. But I think just connecting with people really fills me back up. And I make time to do that as much as possible.
Awesome. And so what's next for you? Because I feel like that's a great mix.
Mm-hmm.
Meditation is key, major.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, watch TV. Like I
Yeah,
don't understand these people. Like, I don't watch television. I'm like, okay, fine. So
yeah, but I
like,
do.
you know how much awesome television is on right now? And I think that
Exactly.
like
Exactly.
there is
And
something for everybody.
and I truly, even though I do it strictly for entertainment, I'm also aware of the fact that I can't be in marketing and advertising and branding and not know these things. Like,
Thank you.
you know, it is such a cornerstone of our culture, and not just popular culture, but culture in general, that, you know, I can't completely separate myself from that and still be able to speak from an educated place about what's going on in the world.
I'm always consistently amazed by people who are, or someone who's just only a startup founder,
Mm-hmm.
and they tell me that, oh, I'm like, oh, so what else do you do? I'm like, oh, well, I don't watch TV. Like, I run or I hack up. Like, you don't watch TV at all? No. And I'm like, so you're building a product that eventually will end up being advertised on television, but yet you don't watch television.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
just that. I think that, like, we are sort of in this kind of really golden age of TV where there's so many different ways you can watch, and there's so
Mm-hmm.
many different things you can watch, and the types of representation that are finally cutting across all these different platforms in
Yes.
really cool ways is quite beautiful. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
if you want something, you can find it. Like,
You can find it. Whatever it is, you can find it. There's somebody making it. There's someone writing it. And it's being broadcast somewhere. You can find it.
yeah, you got a smartphone, you can find it. You don't need a TV. You have a smartphone.
Exactly.
I want to hear that. So what's next what's next for you, going, because 2020 is a new decade? What's coming down the pike?
Yeah. So, um, some of it I know, some of it I don't know. I do a lot of nonprofit work, so I'm working on some new nonprofit stuff for a new organization around design and democratizing it so that it's accessible for everyone.
Awesome.
Which I'm excited about that, and I've been working on a book for way too long now. Just so that you
Everyone
know,
is.
way too long. So my goal is to be. Last year was kind of up and down in a lot of ways. So I'm excited about picking that up again this year, because I still feel like it's a great project and it is a passion project for me, and I just want to see it get done. So I'll be working on that too. But, you know, past that, I don't have um, huge long-term plans. You know, I'm looking at the next couple of years and what that's going to look like, and how to not only expand the reach of my business, but also of my personal brand. I do a lot of public speaking. I want to do more of that because I'm a teacher at heart.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's what public speaking is. So I'm teaching in the classroom, of course, but that allows me to teach more people at a time and be able to share the things that I love on a bigger stage. So I'm looking forward to doing more of that too.
Sounds like a TED Talk is in your future.
Oh, I like that.
I'll speak into existence for you.
Yes, I love it.
Awesome. Well, Nakita, it's been such a delight to have you on the show. We'll put all the information about how they can find out about Branding Chicks and all the stuff you're working on, because it's so awesome to see what you're doing.
Thank you.
And yeah, like I said, I'm super honored you were able to join me on the show. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome.
And that is our show.